Well, Rome certainly has a handful of different problems on its plate right now. One of which, our great dictator died while the faction leader marker was over on Papyrus. That is a shame. Another is this massive alliance of provinces that have gone into revolt. Not very potent in and of itself, nor is the former field council who marched in on Rome, who lent his fleet over to Africa to help increase its defenses. But it's scary because if more wars come up, this is going to be a hard thing to dissolve all at once. It's a big pile of provinces. And then over here we have Quinticus, who moved his money off himself, which to me means he doesn't have another tribune. Nobody else really piled their money up either, because he would have tribuned in again if he had one. It wouldn't be unwise of him to have left a pile of money, say, over on Cato, but you leave that quantity of money and you may be asking for an assassination. And Cato has no popularity. Oh no, he does have a tribune. He has Cato. The hell with that. The money's here. Ha. Okay. Yeah. Nobody else piled their money up. They probably still have enough to defeat him. Alright, so now we go to the forum phase and let's see what happens. Alright, so now we've made it to the Senate phase. Popularity. A lot of games were thrown, big ones, by our Rome Council. Threw a big one. As did Cato, using some of that money that he's planning on trying to buy the council for life with. The point is, if Rome falls due to an unrest, the rebellion succeeds. He doesn't want that. He's got the most to lose here out of everyone. Everyone else is just kind of like, the consul paid his dues because he's got a role on the table, and the role was done. There was a mob violence result, which ended up being very, very fortunate that Cato paid for that game, because otherwise Quinticus was the only number that was drawn. If his popularity had been lower than the current unrest level, he would have been stoned to death. A few other things we have: the Ptolemy Apion bequest. This is Crete Cyrene. This is going to just appear. They grant a new province to Rome. Oh joy. We did the mob violence. That's not going to be their other big problem. A Gallic war. We're out 3 wars now, and that could be kind of risky too. But now we'll see if the Senate can weave its way through this current tangle. Another exciting Senate phase. So a little bit of struggle over who got to be dictator, etc. The settling, well, the consuls were selected as Papyrus and Octavius, with the idea of making, I think, Popilius as the dictator. Woo! That was at least what this guy thought, and he had a lot of votes. But Quinticus, with Cato's help, tribuned in and said, okay, I want to be God. And an assassination was done, and it was at +2 to the die roll, 2 assassin cards. He was killed. Bang, he's gone. What do? They select his son to be dictator. His son selects Scipio, who was over here, to be master of horse. Scipio assassinates, or attempts to assassinate, Octavius, gets caught and killed, which at least gets rid of the master of horse advantage for the dictator. So now the dictator is going to launch an attack against Emilius. He has to fight Emilius, or someone does. And he's devoted all his troops to this. All he's done elsewhere is in Spain. He's given Manlius enough troops that he has maybe a chance of defeating the Sertorian revolt. The Gauls are just being left alone, and they'll be allowed to rampage at will. And all these provinces are just a problem. I don't have the force to do anything with them. Although actually I can send the field council somewhere. To Sardinia, Corsica, there's just a navy there. Let me dispatch him with the rest of the navy to handle that. At least they'll... he doesn't have a legion though. Well, he can get the naval victory, I guess. I don't know. Alright. And Rome will not fall this turn, but things are kind of unpleasant. One thing that came up was the Manilian law, which will allow the consul to just march on some other war and set himself up as a proconsul. That could be helpful, for example, in disarming the... well, he won't have the fleet to do that. Well, he could remove this from being... an unprosecuted war. And that could be of some use, I guess. It's kind of a useless card. Most of these laws are not terribly well thought out. Alright, let's see what happens with this battle. Well, again, I lied to you. It would have been possible, it didn't happen, for Emilius to win that battle. And that would have ended things. He didn't, however. In fact, he was defeated, and Quinticus moved his army onto the Gallic War as proconsul. The Senate can recall him. He's not really able to... they can't force him... he can't force them to fight a war they don't want to. I don't know exactly what effect that has. On to some of the others, though. Forgot about Octavius here. What was he doing with his navy? He's winning the naval battle. Well, he's got some 10 fleets. He's at 12. And he's facing Sardinia, Corsica, which is a 3, so he's plus 9. And he wins... killed one fleet. So there's a chance that Crassus is dead. He's not. And we got a naval victory here, which means they won't have to fight another one even if he figures out and raises some more navy. That's a pretty useless space. He shouldn't have even revolted. What else do we have, though? Well, still problems. And I'm going to have to go to bed with an aching back rather than finish this because there's just no way. Well, we're seeing the deck is still fairly big, so it's not going to end due to the deck very quickly. Quinticus probably going to be recalled. Just to prevent him from getting too mighty. Where else? I don't know who else is up to anything really. It's getting ugly as far as I'm concerned. But we'll see. I don't know. On to another Senate phase, and we see no new wars came out. That's one good thing for Rome. We've got Quinticus, who went and decided to go chase the Gallic Wars. That gives the Senate an option to try to kill him off with them. I don't think they're going to take it, and I don't think they want to allow him to prosecute it. It's a pity that he didn't just come home with that 7 popularity, because instead we ended up with big game paid off by the Rome Council, but the unrest still went way up through the roof, and it's tough that's going to have to be coped with in some way. Of course, that may be part of his goal. Is he's got a lot of popularity, and let's see what else. Anybody else? Flaminius has a lot, but he has a lot of influence too. Papyrus is really the only one with a decent popularity at this point, other than him. The other thing we saw was a new family show up, the Pompey family, Pompeius. The interesting thing there, you see a ton of money, 50, 64 bucks on there. Julius tried to convince him, and no, this isn't Caesar and Pompey the Great. This is, I should say Kaiser actually, if I'm going to say Pompey, right? If I'm going to say Caesar, I should say Pompey. Okay, so this isn't them, but this guy paid a lot of money. He basically matched Julius's money and then some, another 5 or so, mainly because he's holding Pompey the Great. And that's a cool card, actually. He's got this, his military rating is determined by a die roll +1. So he could conceivably have a 7 military rating, something no one else can get near. Of course, he could also have a 2, and that's for each combat it's rolled again. And he has the special ability of doubling popularity gains and losses, which, if he wins a battle, could make him really, really popular in Rome, which is, of course, very valuable, but influence is still this key contributor. All right, so it's hard to tell. I haven't counted up the votes or anything, but I don't think this is going to be a terribly exciting Senate phase. We still have this huge revolt out here, but that's only one war. So we're at 3 wars. There could be a dictator, but there may not need to be. It might be a good idea. We're also getting close to the end of the deck, which means the basic victory condition. If that deck runs out at the end of that turn, I think, we come to the primary victory condition that even happens on the low deck, which is the combined influence of all the senators is added up for each faction, and the one that has the most total influence wins the game. And that's sort of the Republic survived scenario, which is clearly ahistorical, but and may not survive much longer. So I'm not sure how it's going to play out. Let's come back and see what happened. So let's go over what the Roman decision was. Claudius was given governorship of Greece, but he was also made Rome consul. You're allowed to do that now because of the one law. And Populus was made field consul. Between them, they declared Servilius as their new dictator. Servilius assigned Julius master of horse because Aemilius was a rebel. We didn't want him assassinating and taking away the master of horse ability, but Aemilius still tried to assassinate. Servilius, would have succeeded except for a secret bodyguard card. And he was actually caught, and Aemilius was executed. And this is the one time when you can permanently kill a faction family. They go into the destroyed box. All right, so after that, governorships were handed out. Pompeius, with all that money, was sent off to near Spain, which the Sertorian revolt is going to face. Hope is to put that back in the deck. The other war, the Gallic War, attacks Cisalpine Gaul first, which happens to be in rebel hands. Hey, let them go. We took the unrest hits for those 2 unprosecuted wars. And what are we prosecuting? Well, we're leaving Octavius as a proconsul. He doesn't need a fleet anymore because he's defeated the Sardinia-Corsican fleet completely. There's nothing there now. And he's just sent a legion And he will be automatically victorious. He'll get nothing for it, but he'll be able to kill Crassus. Servilius is going after Sicily. And one by one, they're going to have to wipe out these territories that are held by the rebels. Otherwise, though, we're counting on good old Pompeius, who has quite a large force, and since he's not aligned, it's no big deal, under his command to handle the Spanish revolt. We'll see how this works. And the rebellion's been almost completely squashed. All we're down to now is Africa, which is not without any strength, but Sempronius is there. His kind of only hope is that Rome collapses due to population, due to the popularity issue. It's a slim hope, but not completely out of the question, because the dictator, with his big 8 popularity from that battle and 19 influence, didn't go home. He went further to the Sertorian revolt, which was a disaster for Pompeius. Didn't kill him, but really damaged his forces. He's going there largely to prevent Rome from having another unprosecuted war, which is always, that's a problem in general. Who else? Well, that means the Rome Council only has 3 popularity, but he can throw a big game, get it up to 6, and bring that down to approximately even. If anybody else throws games, things might be okay. But that's really Sempronius' only hope here. And he's going to become faction leader. Well, he might die first. If he dies first, the faction's eliminated. And maybe Africa's a war, maybe it's not. I'm not sure how I'll handle that. Again, playing things solitaire, I get to fudge a lot. Nobody had any exciting card plays. Sicily and Sardinia, Corsica are going to be returned to the governorship pool. And we have 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just okay in terms of total number of senators in Rome. Alright, I'm going to send this one up. Sorry I'm not getting to play a lot, but I had to go shopping, and that's all I got for tonight.